Why, hello there. Okay, where do I start? Here's a good place. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Yeah. DMT, man. DM fucking T. I'm not talking no fucking weak little fucking DMT card. Yeah, I finally got my hands on some freebase and like some really strong fucking freebase. Jeepers. Like, and the thing is, my system is depleted. I think it's the benzo withdrawal. I mean, I'm all over the COVID, but like, the weed I have now is super potent, but smoking like half a pinner, it gets me stoned for like fucking like 2 to 4 hours. But I naively, just since I just was still having these very, very like what felt minimal and unsatisfactory experiences with the cart. Like I had those like that one kind of breakthrough, and then I had like one the day before that was like felt close to a breakthrough. Nothing compared to fucking like what the two experiences, the two breakthroughs I had back to back today. And it was very interesting because as I've expressed before, I don't really encounter like anthropomorphic like archetypal type entities. Like I encounter like typically like very formless transforming beings that like I can tell if like despite them being maybe globular and like having tendrils or whatever, like I can tell if it's like one big entity or like a bunch of them put together. Like it's just like an intuitive feeling. And I also get this intuitive feeling of either a female presence or a male presence. Don't tell me how I know, it's just like they just radiate either femininity or masculinity. And in the video, I believe the title's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to change my YouTube channel name or whatever. Like I expressed like, oh, how, like fuck, it's crazy, I believe in the mystical and all that now, like it showed me the mystical. But I've had that happen before, and even though that experience it left that impression with me for longer than any other, I gradually became kind of jaded and was like, yeah, I was just tripping, whatever. Despite like having two back-to-back experiences that were like even more powerful than that, they thematically weren't maybe not more powerful, but like at the very least equally potent breakthroughs. They weren't like what you may refer to as like metaphysical in content. There was definitely dialogue, there's definitely exchanges, but I think it could just be my neurochemistry, could be just my absolute disillusionment with just the fact that the majority of spiritual people I've met have just ultimately come off as really entitled and shitty. But in any case, I don't necessarily feel like changing my channel name, because I feel like every time I'll come out of it being like, I believe, then I'll be like, oh, I believe in what? And then, this narrative will start in my mind, and the skeptical, doubting part, some may argue jaded part, will take over, and I'll be like, yeah, well, I was tripping, whatever. Either way, still some of the most interesting stuff I've encountered ever. And these two are real contenders. So let me get into the first. Actually, let me just finish the thought. Why I brought that up is because I feel like if there is an explanation for these things, it's not so much that the DMT realm is a actual gate into another world entirely. I believe it is a gate into the subconscious and a personification of, and I've kind of come to understand the subconscious as a way of coping with the fact that we have to be sentient beings who suffer, and we relegate a lot to our subconscious, and so it becomes this huge thing that we very rarely, unless you are doing stuff like heavy doses of psychedelics, venture into, or you are a lucid dreamer or something like that. And so going with the idea that what we encounter is more psychology than spirit, which to me makes it no less profound. I feel like the first experience was an encounter with the female part of our psyche, the anima, animus. So there's the male part, the female part, and then I had the male part, which I believe. I know Jungian psychology quite well. I always get the two terms mixed up, though. I believe anima is the female part. I mean, I could be wrong about that. Feel free to correct me. Anyways, first encounter was with the female part, and this is like a hands down, full on fucking what Terence McKenna describes with hearing, reality being ripped to shreds. I'm starting to come to the point where I think it's better to not listen to music when you do it. But I was listening to music, and I heard that, and just the music it became very distant. So much so that I could barely hear it, despite the speaker being right beside my head, and this is a loud fucking speaker, and I didn't realize I had it cranked all the fucking way up. I entered in, and I saw, these entities that I've described before that are they appear very tall, they're looking down at me. I have to kind of look up to see them in their entirety, and they have this very sort of stern, unflinching demeanor to them, not hostile or anything, not menacing, as I developed a almost familial kinship with them. But if I was to compare them to anything terrestrial, it would be like birds, like birds such as eagles, owls, but with red and black feathers. And so I saw them, but then vroom, into hyperspace, vroom, right into hyperspace. And it was one of the experiences where I wasn't so much focusing on the form of the entity. I was thinking about all the stuff that I wanted to mull over during the experience, and that I wanted to get feedback on. And I think partially this could be a way of dealing with the fucking intense ego death of it, is I just sort of retreat into my thoughts a bit. So I can't exactly give you a super defined idea of what this entity looked like. I remember it was very globular and had these kind of spirals that were coming towards me, and it looked like one of those Fruit of the Loom type cornucopia things coming out of it, and then little entity faces inside it. And I was just going over how fucking just I've had a really shitty fucking last month the last 2 months and the last week has been probably the worst of it. Like, you know, I've become very, very disappointed by the university experience. Like, it's been really lame. I was actually making a video on it, and it's actually kind of funny. As I was making this video, I passed by this guy, French-Canadian guy who was walking his twins. Oh my god, that's so fucking annoying. Sorry. They're building a complex right next door, and they have this automated recording that gets tripped by fucking anything. It's like a motion sensor. But anyways, I was going over also just, you know, how I saw my doctor, and he was less than fucking helpful. If anything, he was just a dick. Like, I was just, you know, saying, you know, I'm in desperate, you know, dire straits here. Please, you know, give me some feedback. And I mean, I just was so caught up in the intensity of it that I know I had an exchange with this entity in terms of what we were discussing, but I can't quite recall what we discussed, or what they said, what their side of the conversation was. I just remember sort of just unloading all this stuff that had been weighing on my mind, which felt good. It felt cathartic. But next thing I know, I drop out of the hyperspace, and I'm watching all these colors and entities looking down at me, and I was in that space for what felt like a second, but also an eternity. For those of you who've done DMT, you know what I mean. And then I was out of it, and I was like, holy crap, that's so cool. I really, really, really want to go back in. So I put a bunch into my DMT bong, hooked the tube up. I waited for my tolerance to go down, because I would just be wasting DMT if I was to do more and fucking go in. I waited, and I did it again, and then this was when I had the encounter with the male entity, which was, I don't know if I want to say more vivid, but like, I was more focused on the visuals, and I had what in my mind was a much clearer exchange in terms of a conversation. And like, I could tell for both these trips, I was just like, just jaw dropped, fucking like fucking intense stuff, man. Intense stuff. But this was actually like, it was cool, but I mean, I felt like kind of an asshole because of what it said to me. Like, for one, this is how it appeared. I have a very clear image in my head of how it appeared, and it felt like it was about like 3 entities, but one main entity was heading it up and talking to me, and it had, again, these things are hard to describe. It was like almost like a kind of box with wavering lines, and these octopus like protrusions that were coming out and coming towards me, and growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and also opening between its tendrils were these like red faces and stuff like that. And it was telling me, because I've been, you know, despite feeling really crappy and all that, I've been on my own, taking care of the house, taking care of the cat, and I've been doing a pretty good job of it for the most part. But it was telling me all the little things that I haven't been doing, and it almost reminded me of the whole, like, Jordan Peterson, clean your room, fucking clean your room, like kind of that, but, you know, far more specific, like sweep the back deck so your cat doesn't have to fucking roll in cigarette ashes. You know, you got people coming over today, you're gonna be making food, you need to fucking unpack the dishwasher, you need to swab down the counter, you need to this, that, and the other. Like, a lot. Like, it was telling me a lot. And, like, it was such a poignant message, or series of messages, that I was like, I usually, like, I want to stay in the DMT realm as long as possible, but I was like eager to get out and get started on doing this stuff, but, you know, I, of course, wasn't going to stand up just to fall on my face, so I waited around, you know, watched it continue to contort and do all the stuff, and I thought about the trip I just had. I thought about, you know, where I was going to start with what I was going to do when I came out of it, and what I needed to do, and what I should continue to do to make sure that my regiment, which, as I said, has been good, it's been healthy. I haven't been neglecting duties. I've been, you know, I've been treating my fucking cat like a fucking queen. I've been taking care of myself, you know, doing my exercises, playing guitar, singing, which, like, you know, I feel I've become, like, way better at than I ever have. I've been reading, I've been writing, going to school, despite school being, you know, just, as I said, just I've become very disenchanted with it, because no one who goes there seems to give a fuck about communicating with anyone except for people they already knew going in. And my professor, like, every time I try to add something to the conversation, like other people can, and he won't chastise them, but he'll be like, oh, how's that relevant? And I'll fucking spell it out for him in basic terms, and he'll be like, oh, like, he'll give me the same two answers every goddamn time. Like, either, stuff like that, we'll get to that subject matter, or that's too complex for this class. And it's like, come on, dude. Is that not why we're here? And also, you know, my fucking school is, like, I spent weeks getting them to permit me disability accommodations, like, weeks chasing my doctor around to get him to write a doctor's note outlining all the conditions he diagnosed me with, which he, you know, he left out the major depressive part. I had to fucking chase him around again to do that, got all this information in, filled out all these forms, and they haven't done anything. They haven't followed through on any of that. So, you know, that's disappointing too. So, you know, like it's just been very discouraging the last little while, but I've still been doing things. You know, I don't feel inclined to fucking add anything in class anymore. I'm just gonna sit there and fucking take notes and just get what I need to pass, and then probably find a different school to go to, because, you know, for a university that is that likes to pride itself on such prestige, and also, you know, the reason I'm going to university instead of, like, doing an apprenticeship or working, and, you know, being fucking broke as hell, I did it because my dad told me on the premise of university being this great experience, penultimate experience for someone my age. Because, you know, he went to a very big university, you know, had the frat experience, you know, from what he told me, it sounded like a fucking blast, but, you know, no one seemed to give a fuck about trying to interact with anyone around them, and it's it's lame. Like, you know, I have offered joints to like fucking at least 40 people, and I'll be like, no, no thanks. And then I'll see them smoking weed with their friends like 5 minutes later. Like, it just feels almost like they're too good to fucking talk to me or whatever. And so that's had me kind of down in the dumps, and but yeah, as I said, I was making a video on that, and I ran into this guy who was walking his twins. He was this fucking like very eccentric French Canadian dude, and he told me like how like he was like a hardcore alcoholic and meth addict for 30 years, and he stopped everything, including smoking cigarettes, when like a chick that he had been with like a long time ago, like he got something in the mail saying that like your DNA was taken from a swab on a drink, and you know, like you have twins now. And I guess the mom wasn't around, so he stopped everything, including smoking cigarettes, the day he found out he was going to be a father. And I wish I have the whole conversation. I just have kind of the start of the conversation, and then I must have accidentally hit the power button on my phone. I mean, I can upload it if you want to hear like the 2 minutes, or like the 5 minutes of me bitching and then the 2 minutes of me talking to him. But he's like a heavy metal drummer and stuff like that, and he's like fucking like System of a Down is my favorite band, man, and like I can like drum and I can like sing along with that too. And he's like, but that shit was so fucking hard, man, like it took me so long to get that down. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can imagine. Like fucking, like they have a very good drummer, and B, you know, Serge Tankian or whatever his name is a like amazing vocalist. And so that was like that was cool. That was a positive. I just didn't upload the video because it just I've only got the start of our conversation, as I said. But just looping this back to the DMT experiences. You know, despite all this, like I've been fairly cohesive in terms of sticking to a regimen, but it showed me that there were things I was missing, and that I was kind of receding into a state of self-pity that you know, could lead to me just like being neglectful of myself, my space, my cat, things I don't want to do. And so I was glad it illuminated that. And then the first experience with the female entity allowed me to have this cathartic just unloading of all this bullshit that I was dealing with from school and from my doctor and all this stuff. And like, you know, like the benzo taper, as I'm sure you can see, I'm twitching, I'm shaking a lot. Like my pharmacist has called it an aggressive taper. But talking to my doctor, he just spent an hour fucking blaming ketamine for my symptoms. Now, I've taken less ketamine than I have, especially compared to a month ago, where I got my tolerance so high doing it every hour on the hour that I was IMing like 150 milligrams. Like half of that now would be like fucking probably be like a heavy dose. And like I just can't afford to fucking pay for it anymore. It's more expensive than cocaine to get pure ketamine in my city. And I was only really doing it with sorry, just looking at a message. I was still doing it with or like only like really when I was fucking feeling terrible, like terrible, and I had woken up early and I needed like an hour of grace to get me through until I could take my methadone at the like regular time I'm supposed to take it. And like, you know, and I've got like fucking tons of Valium that I could take if I wanted to, but haven't taken any other benzos because I'm like being a fucking good little boy. And like my doctor just wasted all this fucking time, and I see him like once, like maybe every month, every 2 months. And you know, I could have done a urine test that would have allowed me to get my methadone carries back, but he was just like, oh, sorry, out of time, like, and I was like, dude, like I wouldn't be doing anywhere near as much ketamine, or any ketamine for that matter, if I was just getting regular carries, so I didn't have to wake up and be like, fuck, now I'm gonna get down to the pharmacy and I feel like fucking shit. I've got to do some ketamine to fucking bring the agony down like 20% max to fucking just get down to the pharmacy and take my dose. Like that's essentially the capacity that I've been taking it in for the last few weeks. So like once, twice a day max, and I haven't even been taking it once a day for like the last week. And if it was the ketamine doing this to me, which I know it's not, because I've taken, like as I said, I used to be prescribed it, took it for almost every day, 3 years, never had any side effects, and my immune system was worse back then than it is now. And as I've expressed, you know, immune system, central nervous system, both impact each other quite a bit. And if his theory was right, when I took the ketamine, then my symptoms would have gone away entirely, not like just this modicum of relief that allowed me to like stand up and move for like half an hour to an hour before it wore off. And when it does wear off, I don't feel fucking like way worse rebound symptoms like you would feel if you were physically addicted to something. So, you know, I had all that fucking weighing on me when I did the DMT, and I was like, you know, saying like, I just want to fucking unburden this stuff from me, which I got to with the first trip, and then the second trip was like, okay, now that you've done that, fucking you can start fucking focusing on taking more initiative in your environment. And as soon as I came out of it, I did that, and I spent a couple hours cleaning. I really went to town fucking making sure I did everything I could to like make my fucking surroundings sparkle, make sure all the plants are taken care of, the cat's taken care of, this, that, and the other. Yeah, no, those were both very, very powerful, cool experiences. I was listening to music on the second trip. They're playing. And I know I had a very heavy breakthrough because, again, I heard that and fucking, like, you know, felt myself go slap-jawed, just like, ha. And like the music became very distant to the point I like couldn't even really hear it, just a kind of flanger of DMT. And I had like the second time is probably more powerful because I took more and I put it in my DMT bong and then put a tube in the bong to boot. So fucking like really was something. Just having come out of it to be like, okay, I've got to go do these things to make my situation, my life better, I think is unique to the absurd amount of fucking breakthrough experiences I've had. like I'm always like when I break through, I'm always like, fuck, that was so cool. I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to go back. That's usually all I think about. As well as like integrating the contents of the trip. So, they don't just get wasted. But like, I sprung up, was like, okay, where's the fucking dustpan? Where's the green bin? Where's the dustbuster? I gotta unload the dishwasher, fucking load up the dishwasher. And I did all of that, and, just was very productive as a result. And I think that is pretty cool, and showed that there's a good practical application when it comes to this stuff. And I'm very, very grateful for these two experiences. And as I said, wouldn't attribute them to something spiritual. I attribute them to hearing from the female part of my psyche, the male part of my psyche, and being fully engrossed in the subconscious. Like, this was no fucking waiting room experience or anything. These were both like multiple entities, like fucking telepathic dialogue, a ton of colors when I came out of the like hyperspace part, and really something. Yeah, man, fucking pretty cool, all around. But anyways, I have work yet to do, as I have people coming over, and we're gonna make a big meal and all that stuff, so gotta get going. Fucking keep it real, folks. I'll fucking talk to you soon. Bye-bye.